Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about optimizing your PCS report configurations in an effort to have streamlined reporting across your whole company. Quick agenda. We're going to just kind of level set for everyone, talk about reporting basics, what they are, what types of reports we offer, and then we're going to dig really deeply into some of the more advanced customization options that are available to you in our reporting platform. Talk a little bit about themes management, and then we'll finish up by talking about how to automate all the work that you've done. So, first things first, what are reports? PCS comes equipped with a reporting engine, and essentially it lets you build reusable templates that query your data in a quick and efficient way. They let you take a view of your data from different angles, standard reports, delinquencies, exceptions, as a couple examples, then dig deeper through adding filters and customizations, and then get that data out where it needs to go in a format that is meaningful. The templates are used as often as you need them to be used, and they're pre-configured for consistency across your entire company. Or, you can just build it for yourself. If you find that you need to run the same report over and over, you can always build that report as a template and then use the template as many times as you need to without reinventing the wheel. Out of the box, when PCS is first installed, there's a bunch of templates that are already included, and they're kind of used as the foundation to build on your customized reports. So they help answer common questions like, do I have any exceptions? Do I have delinquencies? Have I finished my survey work? And these templates, really set the stage that allow you to build these customizations, layouts, filtering, paper size, so forth, get you started as a launching point so you're not started from scratch every single time you're trying to run a report. The different types of templates that we have are here on the screen. We have columnar reports. Columnar reports are just kind of how you would expect, like out of the data grid, rows and columns, right? And that data can be exported in a PDF format or a CSV format. We have paper forms, paper in quotes, because they're meant to look like, sheets of paper of the past, forms that you might have written into in the past. And this is an example of one here on the left, an atmospheric inspection form. So rather than showing your data, just in rows and columns, it shows you that same data, but it gives you the flexibility to drag and drop and color code and even include pictures on your form reports. We've also got graphs. Any numeric value across any module and facility type can be graphed in PCS, and they can be graphed over time or they can be graphed over distance. So if you're looking for trended analysis, you can take rectifier readings and you can graph them over time, see how your ground bed is depleting. Or if you had a bunch of different types of surveys, CIS, DCVG, annual and periodic data, you could overlay all that on top of each other based on distance and get a more holistic look at the health of your CP system. And then lastly, we have summary reports. Summary reports are kind of like a pivot table in PCS. It's all reporting on the same data, right? But it lets you take another step and do some calculations on that data, counting the number of facilities that you have, how many of those facilities have inspections from this year, how many don't, how many are meeting criteria, what percentage are remaining, any of those questions that we're asked all the time, especially by superiors, can be added into a summary report. And then that drill down format can be run across your whole system. Okay, let's talk about the different types of reports that we have. So when I'm inside PCS, that's a menu-driven application, right? So most of the interaction comes from the interacting with the menus across the top. And there's a section for reports graphs. You can see a screenshot of it here. So when you click that drop down, depending on the module you have, the drop down is going to look a little different. We're in the CPDM module here, and so it all starts with reports at the highest level, PCS reports, and the PCS reports are cross-module reports. So they let us take CPDM data and ACM and ICM and ISM data and combine it and summarize the data at a very high level. These are the only reports that are cross-module, and they only have really the common elements between those different modules. So think things like delinquency reports, inspection graphs, where you're going to be overlaying different kinds of data sets. Those are two examples. The next level below that, we get into module-specific reports. So this entry is called CPDM reports. And these are not cross-module, but they're cross-facility type within the module that you're in. So I can run essentially inspection reports on all of the CPDM modules: test points, rectifiers, bonds, galvanic anodes, and tanks. And if I wanted to get that into a single report, I would go in and use a CPDM report. Below that, the next section is going to be your facility-specific reports. So we break it down by each of the individual facilities within the module. And then if you look, each individual facility type has a bunch of different reports already built in. Information, inspection, maintenance, and exception are the primary reports that you can run. And those are essentially duplicated for each of the different facility types. So if you really need to home in on specific aspects of your data, you can go in and drill down as deep as you need to. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into how we actually customize these reports, because what you're looking at right now are just the standard out-of-the-box templates that we provide. First things first, when you actually get into a report, you want to customize what you see. It's probably the easiest thing to do. And there's really a couple places where you're going to do that. So first of all, you're going to configure layout themes for columnar reports, summary reports, even graphs. Well, I guess, and for all of the reports, for paper forms as well. You're going to have control over which fields are present in your report and the order that those fields are going to be present in. The ordering of those fields is what we call a layout. Right? It's pretty basic concept, probably familiar to most of y'all. If you've used PCS before, it's the same thing that we do for customizing layouts on the data grid. Exact same functionality. Take all the available fields from the left-hand side of the screen, move them over to the right-hand side of the screen, and order them. Right. Below that, in the very bottom left corner of the screen, when you're looking at columnar reports, specifically reports that you're intending to print off on a sheet of paper, there's a tiny tab at the bottom left corner of the screen that says paper settings. And you can see it here maximized on the screen. It's kind of the bottom half of the screenshot here. That whole window kind of zooms up. So what this is it's actually quite a few things. The paper size estimate there shows you the layout that you have selected, the order that those fields are going to be in, and how much space they're going to take up on your sheet of paper. Some of them allow for word wrapping. Some of them are grayed out, which means you can't resize them. The majority of the ones that you can't resize are going to be fields that have a defined length. Like we know that structure pipe to soil is always going to be, so many digits. It can't be 50 digits, right? It's just going to be a small number of digits. And so we have it shrunk down as small as we possibly can to maximize the amount of space that you have. Moving on down, the paper size is really important setting. These days, I don't actually think people are printing off these reports. Mostly you're printing them to PDF. And so what I would recommend is that you take that paper size and you make it as large as possible. Tabloid is 11 by 17, so it's going to give you the most amount of room. And then you can actually change your orientation to landscape to give you a little bit more room as well. It's especially important when you're looking at things like the CPDM survey report. you want to show a ton of data on a single report, you need to have a lot of room. If your fields in the report paper size estimate section show up in red, it means that they're going to wrap to the next page, and your report format's going to look not very readable. So playing with the paper size, playing with the orientation, that's going to help. Also, playing with the font size, minimum and maximum, is going to help bring that down. We are actually auto scaling the size of the text based on your layout and based on the size of your paper and the orientation. So we're going to make your fields as big as possible. In this case, the maximum is set to 10, the minimum is set to 3, and you can see my size is set to 3 currently. And just keep in mind that the fonts here are not, the size of the font specifically is not as if you went into Microsoft Word and you set the font size to 3. You not be able to, you need a magnifying glass to read it, right? This is just kind of a scaled size. 3 is fairly legible, especially if you're using a PDF editor, you can zoom in. At the bottom of the screen, the very bottom of the screen, there are some check boxes that have different print options. Some of the important ones, 2 of the most important ones, I think, are record counts and then just reprinting your group headings on each page. I guess as well, printing the filter options in the report heading. All 3 of those are going to be important. Reprint the group headings on each page just kind of gives you context as you're scrolling down through your sheet of paper, or if you or through your report, or if you actually do print it off, and your pages get out of order. Each page is going to show you exactly which areas of the hierarchy or route you're looking at. The number of records is pretty straightforward. It just calculates the total number of records for each page. It's helpful, especially for those of you that are really familiar with your assets, just as a quick tool to make sure I'm expecting this many facilities to be in my report, and sure enough, there are, or there aren't, and then you need to go in and play with your filters. And then the last one, print filter option setting in the report heading. This just combines all of the filter options that you've configured, which we'll talk about next, and shoves it at the top of the report. So 10 years from now, when you go back and you need to run a similar report, you can see exactly what filters were used. And there's no questions about how to recreate it, or if you were filtering something out that you might expect to see. Okay, so what you can see is fairly straightforward for reports. The real complexity and the real value that you get out of reporting is through using filters. And so that's where we're going to spend most of our time through the rest of the presentation. First of all, we're going to kind of set the stage a little bit about the different types of filters that we offer. There's 2 kinds, essentially. And again, this concept is the same as you might expect on the data grid, or really anywhere where filters can be applied. We have this concept of ad hoc filters and permanent filters. Ad hoc filters are essentially temporary filters. They can be added to your report template for a specific purpose. You run the report, you close PCS. When you go back to that report, those filters are not there, right? They're done really in one go. And the intent is that I just need to get down to something really quickly, and I don't want to have to set that filter every single time, right? That's what an ad hoc filter is for. If you find that you need to set the same ad hoc filter over and over and over and over, you can create that as a permanent filter. Permanent filters are set up in the customize screen. So at the top right of the screen, you go to customize, go down to the filter section like it shows in the screenshot here, and you're going to see a very similar looking filter input box, like you would, almost adding an ad hoc filter. But when you're adding it through the customize screen, these filters are going to persist. So you can go through and you can set your fields, choose which fields you want. You can even choose what the operators are and what they're equal to. For example, the very first one here says currently active facilities only. The underlying filter there is facility currently active is yes. So that's the field is facility currently active. The operator is yes, And then I've actually recaptioned that to read as plain text so that people don't have to look at it and try and figure out, what does facility currently active is yes actually mean? That one's pretty straightforward. But when you start to think about things like facility not currently active is yes, and you get double negatives and kind of advanced logic, sometimes it's easier to go through and change the names of those filters so that they're in plain text, so that anyone who's coming in understands what it means. But permanent filters are really important, specifically for your automation, right? If we want to build streamlined, consistent reports, then we need to have consistent filtering across the board. And that starts with building permanent filters. Okay, let's kind of dig a little bit deeper into filters. So there's two concepts of filters that we have in PCS. There are and filters and there are or filters. And y'all are all familiar with this if you use PCS. So an and filter means that all conditions must be met. So I'm filtering on 2 fields or more, and all of the conditions of my filters must be met, and only the ones that meet every condition are going to show. So good example of this is a delinquency report, right? In delinquency reports, you only want to report on active facilities. That's one filter. And delinquent facilities or past due. That's your second filter. So you don't need to have a bunch of other facilities that either are inactive or not delinquent on your delinquency report, right? You only want to show where they're active and delinquent. So that's an example of an and filter. Or filters don't really care if there's overlap. They're just saying this is a problem or this is a problem, or give me this thing or give me this thing, right? It's either or. They don't have to overlap. And a good example here is exception reports, which everyone uses, right? I want to look for where I have low test point readings, or where I have shorted casings, or where I have delinquent facilities. And in any of those 3 cases, I want those records to show up on my report, right? So that's an example of an or filter. Pretty straightforward, right? And filters and or filters. So let's make it a little bit more complex. What about the combination of and filters and or filters? This is some capability that we have in PCS in the customization options, but you also have this in exception reports. And so what we're looking at here is just kind of the standard test point exception reports. The boxes that you see, the one in the middle of the screen with the blue indication around it with inspection data is between, that's an and filter. And then the red box below is an or filter. But these are groups, right? It's a group of and filters and a group of or filters. And so how does my group of and filters, my group of or filters talk to each other? What's the logic for them to speak to each other, right? The way that it actually works is we take all of your and filters, if there are multiple, and then we take one of the or filters and we put it with your and filter. And it becomes an and filter, right? So we say inspection data is between the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and AC exception contains exception, right? So I'm looking for inspections this year that have AC exceptions, and that's one group. And then I put those inspections to the side, and then the filter gets run again. Show me where I have inspection date between beginning of the year, the end of the year, and where my structure IRF volts is less negative than negative 850. And I take all those together as an and filter, and then I add them to my previous one, and that's how we get the combination of using and filters and or filters. So the logic gets pretty deep if you have use cases. For example, the exception report does a good job of having the and filters and or filters together, but you can recreate all of this stuff really in any report type that you might have. Inspection reports, delinquency reports, even you can go into customize, and in the filter section you can add your own or group that would function like this. And if you're struggling with the logic, just think about how exception reports work and build it like that, and it should work. Or you can call our customer support team. They'd be happy to help you. Okay, one last thing about dates, specifically with customizing streamlined reports that can be reused over and over and over, including month over month or year over year when you're looking at monthly inspections or yearly inspections. Instead of just looking for inspection date is between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2025, PCS gives you the ability to actually filter on dynamic date ranges. And so I can say, rather than looking at, January 1st, I'm going to look at the beginning of the year through the end of the year. And as my calendar year rolls over to 2026, my filter is just going to pick up that date change, and I don't have to change my filter. It's a really important concept when you're talking about automation, especially when we talk about email reporting, right? You don't want to have to go through every single year and update your filters on all your reports just because the calendar year changed. So let PCS do the heavy lifting for you by using dynamic date ranges. You can also set date ranges to be equal to other fields as well. So I could say if my inspection date is equal to my effective date, for example, and those are dynamic too, right? They're variables. They're not hard-coded dates. So you can get really fancy with how you're filtering there as well. At the very end of the highlighted red box here, it says end of the month plus 30 days, right? So I can add days, a certain number of days, months, or years to my end date if I wanted to look at multiple years, multiple months of data dynamically. Okay, so you understand how to customize what your reports look like, understand filters. The next step is to go through and actually build a fully custom report that incorporates all of these things: your layouts, your permanent filters, any custom sort themes, all your print options. And you can build these just like you can see here in the screenshot for each individual report so that all of those settings are saved. And now I don't have to go through and change my layout theme, change my filters or anything like that every single time. I can package all that stuff into a custom report, and I can just click it and hit run. Everything is already pre-configured. These can be public themes or they can be private as well. So public means everyone who has access to that PCS database can view and utilize that report, but only admin can make changes to it. Private means only the user who's logged in, so me, only I can see it, only I can use it, only I can make changes to it, right? So admin, make these public reports, set all your layouts, your filters, what they need to be so that you have consistency across your entire company, make them public, and then ask your people, hey, use this annual report for all of your annual inspections. So you have consistent formatting throughout all of your different regions, different people who are gathering your data. If people are really heavily using that add report button, custom layouts, you can periodically come through, and admin can come through into tools and themes management and clean up any of the layouts that may be unused. This is just going to reduce the number of menu items that you're seeing, reduce the number of layout items that you're having to choose through to improve consistency and streamline report creation. It also lets you go through and take other people's reports that they've built and make them public. If you have a report that someone built that's really nice and you want everyone to use it, an admin could come into tools and themes management, they can find the report, and they can check the is public box on that screen, and that'll make it available for everyone. Lastly, public columnar reports are able to be automated through email notification. And email notification is just a way for you to go through and have columnar reports automatically be run, attached to an email, and then emailed to a distribution list of your choosing. They don't necessarily have to be PCS users. They can be anyone with an valid email address. But it gets fancy because you can include business rules as far as why the reports are run. So for example, if I have a delinquency report, I can say, hey, if I have delinquencies in the next 90 days, then send me a report so I can take care of those. Once it gets down to 30 days, within 30 days, then send that report to me and my boss so my boss can understand my workload. And then when it gets down to a week, becoming, within a week of being delinquent, you can send it to, myself, my boss, and my boss's boss, so that there's some escalation that's happening automatically. And you can build all types of custom business rules like that. You don't have to rebuild the report for each person. It already takes into account hierarchy. So you can say, just run this inspection report for everyone, and it only is going to give what people can actually see, what they've been configured to see in the hierarchy in that report by default. And then you can include people who don't have PCS as well, just as long as they have a valid email address. Okay, we are right at time. Really appreciate the time this morning, y'all. I don't see any questions in the chat, but thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.